Hey everybody out there in Flosstube world, this is Vicki, the Virginia Stitcher, coming to you with my Flosstube extra of my Winter Wonderland Extravaganza. This is a video where I am going to show you all of my winter and Christmas themed projects, cross-stitch wise, whether they be whips, kitted projects, partially kitted projects, or just charts that I have. I went through yesterday and I cleaned out my crafting closet, and I was trying to organize and move things around and kind of get it a little neater because I have a tendency to kind of throw things in the closet and eventually it gets kind of messy and I have to go through and kind of organize and clean it up and kind of fix it a little bit. So I did, and I found all of my winter things. So I just want to tell you, this is probably going to be the longest video I have ever recorded so far. So buckle up, get your popcorn, get your soda, and find a comfy seat. Really, just get your stitching, get comfortable, because this is going to be probably a long one. So the first thing that I wanted to show you in my winter stuff is something that I found in a tote that I had some old finishes in that never got FFO'd, never got fully finished, didn't get framed or whatever. And I found this piece and I thought it was finished. But the more I looked at it, I thought, no, it's not finished. And the problem is this is something that I was working on probably either in the late 90s, 1990s, or the early 2000s. I had been stitching. I started stitching in probably the mid 80s and stitched through till probably around 2000, probably around 2010. And then I put it aside for a while. If you watch my intro video, my very first one, I talk all about that. And then I just recently picked it back up in the last while. So this one, unfortunately, didn't get finished. So a lesson to me, and maybe a lesson to you guys too, if you guys are bad like I was, through moves and cleaning through things, I got rid of all of my Just Cross Stitch magazines that I was getting. I was getting those for years, and I had a stack. I had probably, a good sized stack of magazines, and I just got rid of them all because I thought, I'm not really cross stitching, and these are taking up space, and I don't feel like either moving them to the next place or storing them in the closet that I didn't have room for. So in one of my purgings, I got rid of all of those. And I believe this one was probably in a magazine. And so now I don't have the pattern to finish this one. But I think I can probably try to look up the DMCs, try to color match, and maybe finish this one. So I don't even know what this one is called. And he stitched on, it looks like 18 count Navy Ada. Not 18 count. I don't know if I said 18 because it looks a little smaller than the 16 count that I've been working on lately. And he does have some metallics in him. But when I was looking really close at this one, I noticed that this little checkerboard probably needs to go up a little farther like it is on this side. This triangle space here probably needs to be filled in like this one over here. So I'm going to try to see if I can find these same. Looks like it was a blend of a blue metallic, like a Krynic, and a light, probably this light blue here mixed with the metallic, and then a lavender color. So I'm going to see if I can color match these and try to at least maybe bring this up the rest of the way, fill in this one here, maybe try to, I believe these probably need this same thing here in both of these with the metallic, and at least get that filled in, and then I'll feel like it's finished because he's cute. I really want to, finish this guy, but sadly I don't have the pattern for him anymore. So, lesson to myself, be careful with what you're purging, because, you know, and during moves, sometimes I just go, I kind of rifle through it real quick and say, oh, these are just a bunch of magazines, and I might pitch them. Plus, I was bad back in the day. This was before I knew anything about, there was even a Flosstube out there. I didn't have a bunch of people that I knew that cross-stitched. I'm the only one in my family that does. And that's also, you know, as I had stated before, why I've started my cross-stitch channel is to connect with some other people who love this hobby as much as I do. Since I felt like I was kind of all alone, I'm the only one that I know that does it anymore. I didn't have anybody to pass charts on to. Sometimes I would scribble or write on them or highlight on them. I wouldn't make working copies. I don't still. I try not to write on them that much anymore, so that maybe I can pass on my patterns when I'm finished with them. But I didn't know anybody to give them to, so I would throw them away. I'm so sorry. All those patterns that ended up in the trash back in the day, I just wish I knew then what I know now, that there are people out there that I could give those to. That was such a shame. So anyway, I'm going to try to finish that one. My next couple are ones that I have been working on this week. So you're kind of going to get a sneak peek of my latest progress on a couple of things. Now this first one is by Heartstring Samplery, and it's called Baby It's Cold Outside. This one is not a very big piece, and I picked this up, and I actually was working on it even this morning, and have been working on it the last couple of days. And this is how far I've gotten on Baby It's Cold Outside. And this is being stitched on 16 count Ada in the color Spice by Picture This Plus. And I had to change a lot of the called fors, because when I pulled out the called for green and the called for red, they weren't showing up that well on this really dark brown Spice fabric. I don't know. See how this is more of a darker green, and the red was kind of a... So I picked out some of my own colors and went ahead. What I've been working on is I had this part of the border already done, and I had been working on this back in January and hadn't touched it since. I worked on it for maybe 2 or 3 days and put it aside. And I had a little bit of this house over here done. So in these last 2 or 3 days, I've gotten this much of this house done. And what I like about it is this is pretty cool. This is like every other, like a checkerboard stitch there. And I thought that was pretty cool. So, and I do love this color fabric. So I am going to probably work on this a little bit more before I set it aside and stuff. So I will probably be showing this in my next video next week. My next piece is, like I said, another one I have was working on for maybe 2 days, some more on this one. And this one's by Little House Needleworks, and it's called Lantern Lane. And I just love this one. The first person I saw working on this one was Lori Schickalone with Once Upon a Stitch. I don't know if it was last winter. She might have finished it by last winter, if not the year before. And I really loved this big red house, and I love these lanterns, and just I love the old colonial look of it. And this one is being stitched on 16 count Ada in a color lamb's wool. And this is how far I was able to get on this one so far. And like I said, this one will be shown in my progress. What I had been working on was this down here. I put this in. But what I needed to do is I already had this in this gray color. It's probably hard to tell here on this is DMC 844. And it was looking very faded. So I frogged it all out, and I changed it to DMC Black 310, and I liked it much better. So I still need to frog out the lamp post. So, but this is And I'll talk more about this in my update video, my next floss tube. But this is how far I was able to get on this one. And this is Lantern Lane by Little House Needleworks. And I need to kind of keep this stuff together because otherwise I'm going to have things everywhere. So let me try to be good about that. This next one you've seen recently. I haven't been working on it since I've shown it to you, but this one is by Cottage Garden Samplings, and it is called Winter Wisdom. And I just loved the little birds, the pine cones, the whole. I even love this, the way the scripting of that W, the way their lettering is. I love this piece. I'm finding that I'm really liking Cottage Garden designs. And this one was being stitched on a piece of fabric. This is a 32 count even weave by a company called Be Stitch Me. Her name is Brandy. You can find her at bestitchme.com if you're interested in ordering any of her flosses or material. But this one was one of the, I'm on her Fabric of the Month Club, and this one is called something garden. I can't remember. But this is the start of the one bird and the branch. I'm going to try to move along kind of fast on these since I've got so many to show and I don't want this video to go on forever and ever. I personally like longer floss tubes because I watch them while I'm stitching. So I listen and I watch and I look at the beautiful things while I'm stitching. And then I don't have to keep playing around with my iPad and switching to find something new to watch. I like when they go an hour or two long. I actually prefer it. And then if they're long and I don't have time to sit and watch them, I just pause it and then later go back to finish watching them. This one is a Prairie Schooler, and this one you've seen recently also in my last show, Floss Tube, and it's Christmas Village by Prairie Schooler. And I gave wrong info. I said there were 52 of these trees. I lied. There are actually, I think, 32. 32. So there's 20 less than what I had said. Still a lot of trees, but there are 32 of these trees back here. And I had said that I'm just going to try to plug away and, you know, do a tree here and there as I'm stitching on all of the little buildings, the houses and things, so that I don't get treed out. So this was the Prairie Schooler Christmas Village. And I forgot what this one is stitched on. This one is being stitched on 16 count Aida in the color light blue. This one doesn't have any mottling or anything like that. It's just a straight up light blue piece of fabric. So that is that one. Like I said, that was a recent whip that I was working on last week. This one was a piece that I picked up and I started. I didn't get very far on. And I'm going to tell you that the pattern for this, it stitches up beautifully. I just saw somebody on Instagram had finished it, and it actually looks really, really pretty. But their picture that they show on the front of their pattern, and this is by Kori e Beta Kore. It's just like a pixelated design, and it's not really the stitch design, and it comes out much prettier. But this one is Shabby Winter Calendar. And so I purchased this one a while back, and I had started it, but I didn't get very far. But I had seen that, I don't remember who it was on Instagram who had finished it, and I thought that is really pretty, and it really sparked an interest for me to get it out and start stitching on it some more. But this one is being stitched on a piece of 16 count Aida in the color Sea Spray, and my start is just, that's it. Oop, it goes this way. I had started, let me move this thread for you a little bit. I had started just filling in the white border of the first block for day one, and that's only how far I was able to get. So that's that one, and I'd like to get some more work done on this one this winter. foresee getting it finished, but I would like to get some work done on this one because, like I said, it really stitches up really pretty. So that is Core e Beta Core, and it is Shabby Winter Calendar. It is an Italian designer. So that is the name up here, Core e Beta Core. My next one, okay, people. My next one is, no, I thought it was something else. I got a story to tell about one of these. This one is by Country Cottage Needleworks, and it is the Snow Sampler, and it looks like this. And see how that's on a tannish looking fabric? Well, I picked a different color than that. It's a 16 count Aida in the color, I think it's, I want to say it's Beach Walk. I do not have a cheat sheet for this one, but this is a green color. I decided to do mine on a green. And this was my car piece for a good while. Sorry for the wrinkles, but it's been folded up in its little project bag. I just like how the white shows up on this kind of light greenish fabric, and that orange is really popping. So that's how far I was able to get on that one. And again, this one is Country Cottage Needleworks, and it is the Snow Sampler. So this one's not a very big one. And so I just stitched a little bit up in here. This is also going to give you guys a good idea, since I'm not very technologically savvy. So I don't pop pictures in to show you where I was in my progress before. So this is going to, this will give you a good idea, how much I was able to get done on it before I picked it up again to work on it. And I'm surprised I don't have a cheat sheet for this one. Oh, cheat sheet. Progress sheet. Not a cheat sheet. The next one is the only one I have by this designer, but I gotta tell you, this is cute as can be. And I might have to get some more from this one. And this one is a company called Sugar Stitches. Look at that one. Sugar Stitches. And it's called It's a Marshmallow World. And I am doing it on a kind of brownish Aida, 16 count. I'm doing this one on Amber Aida. And the colors, the whites are just popping off of this. Here again, I have a thread hanging here. Sorry about that. And it's not ironed. Isn't that pretty? Look at those sweet colors. Love it. Love it. This is going to be really cute when it is finished. And this is one that, as I'm stitching on it, because it's a Marshmallow World, I start singing that in my head. It's a marshmallow world. You guys don't want to hear that. But that is another project that I'm hoping to get some more progress on this winter. The next one is a series that I'm doing all on one. And this is by Country Cottage Needleworks. Always have to be careful. I get Country Cottage Needleworks and Little House Needleworks mixed up. I think they're sister companies. Anyways, this is Country Cottage Needleworks, and it is the Snow Village series. So I have all of them. So I'll just kind of run through real quick. Like I said, this video, I don't want to make it too long. So I have all, I think there's 11, because the middle one is an extra big chart. This one here, it says the Snow Village with the snowmen in it. And it has all of these little carts or buildings around it. But I don't know, there might have been a layout provided for this somewhere online or something, but I didn't see it. This was back when I very first started back into cross stitch. So I made it my own. I figured out exactly where I wanted to place each one, and you can see I even scribbled out and switched and moved some, but that's my chicken scratch. That is my plans for how I'm going to lay out my snow village. And see, I started back here and I said, yeah. So I am stitching this one on a piece of blue Ada, and I'm not sure what color. I think this one I got off of Etsy. I can't remember the Etsy seller. But see, I went ahead and I took the time to stitch in all of my boxes so that I have my layout ready. And then I wanted to make sure that it would fit on my fabric, that it looked right, and it wasn't off-centered or anything like that. And then I went in and I did 2 of the charts so far. So I filled in 2 of these boxes. And they are the Peppermint Parlor and the Iced Coffee Cafe. So that's how far I was able to get on this one. Another one that I'm hoping to get some more progress on this winter. If I can at least, you know, get one more of them done, one more block, that would be awesome. So let me put everything back in its little thing here so I don't lose it, since I've got quite a few. And then this next one is by Stacy Nash Primitives. And the pictures for hers are always very hard to see. But this one is called Gathering the Greens Sampler. So because it's gathering the greens, and I think of that as wintertime, you know, for the season to make your wreaths and bring in your Christmas tree and all of that. This one is being stitched on a piece of 16 count Ada in the color Heritage by Picture This Plus. And this is what it looks like so far. Let me fold this in half. So I got a good start on this house here. And some of the border. This is a lot of my own picked out colors because I didn't have most of these colors back when I was stitching last winter. And I had to improvise and use some that I could get a hold of or had in my stash. So, because I know the supply chain, you know, with the events of the last couple of years has been really kind of slow, and not all, you can't find some of the fabrics, you can't find some of the threads. So I've improvised on a lot of mine. So that's that one. This one I just showed recently, and I'm hoping to get some more stitching done on this soon. And this is by Brenda Gervais, and this is Winter Rose Manor. It looks like this. This one is being stitched on a 16 count Ada. Didn't write it down. Is it on the back of my, sometimes I take the sticker and I do. This looks like dirty or some kind of like dirty Ada. But that is how far I was able to get on this one. And I had just showed this one in my last one. So this is my progress on Winter Rose Manor so far. And again, I'd like to pick this up and get some more done on this one. I'm enjoying it. I really love all of my things. I really do. And, you know, I just wish I had more time in the day, more days in the week, year, whatever, to get everything done that I want to get done. This next one was a Christmas gift last year from my daughter. She went to my wish list on 123 Stitch, and she purchased this for me. And this is by Shannon Christine Designs, and it is hot cocoa. And I am doing this one on, I think this is Dirty Ada, I believe. Let me see. What am I stitching this one on? Just another one that I'm not. When I very first started stitching, I wasn't very good about keeping records. So I'm sorry if I can't tell you what this is stitched on. I think it's dirty, Ada. Not sure. But that's how far I was able to get on this one. I love this cup of cocoa with the whipped cream and the peppermint stick and everything in it. So that's how far I was able to get on that one. I'd like to get this one finished this winter, hopefully. It's on my WhipGo board I think it's on there a couple of times. So I'm thinking, and the reason I did was to push to see if I can get this done so I can have that on display this winter. Now this next one is, I haven't touched this one in a while, Kringles by Little House Needleworks. And I know you probably you've probably seen this, you've heard other people say, this reminds me, I remember traveling to New York City at Christmas time and seeing Macy's. And I just, not that Macy's looks exactly like this, but that's what it just kind of made me think of, a Christmas department store, all done up for Christmas time. And I am stitching this one on Ada. Let me see if did I put anywhere. Let me look real quick and see if I can tell you which Ada that I'm stitching this one on, because this one looks like the same as my Winter Rose Manor, and I do not have it written down. Oh, it says Amber, so that's probably what Winter Rose Manor is on, is Amber Ada. And this one, because this one looks exactly like it. I am loving this. Love working on all the brickwork on this one. So this is 16 count Amber Ada, and that's how far I was able to get on this one last winter when I was working on it. So once you get like your mortar in or whatever, you just go in and you just fill in your bricks. That makes that easy. And this roof line up here, that does take counting to make sure you're on track with it. And there are more dormers that go across the top of this one. So I'm only partially, here's my cover sheet. I'm only partially through with the roof. I'm like less than halfway. So I still got a ways to go, and I've only got the first window done. So there's still quite a bit more on Kringles that I need to work on and do. I need to probably go, before I forget, at some point and write down that I believe that that's Amber that Winter Rose Manor is stitched on. Grab all these and throw these back in their bag. This is one of the project bags that I had made using Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, her tutorial. So I've got some more material to make some more Christmas ones, Christmas winter looking ones, because I have some projects that are just in little plastic bags. This next one is by Carolyn Manning Designs, and it is called, I downloaded this off of her website, Carolyn Manning's website, as a PDF, and this one is called the Winter Wonderland Garden Labyrinth. And it looks like this. And this one is really pretty. I don't know if I wrote down what I was stitching this one on, like I said, because this was one I started back before I was good at keeping notes. Let me but this is, I think it's Twilight Blue Ada, 16 count Ada. Make sure I get this up, and I got threads hanging. And I did an upper left hand corner start. And this, let me see if I can get this straight for you guys. There you go. This is how far I was able to get on this one. Isn't that pretty? And the whites are showing up really well on this blue fabric. This picture, this digital replica of it looks a little bluer than my blue. but I went with the blue that I could find at the time, and I love it. I still like it. So I've just been working up in this upper corner. It's like a kind of a mandala style. Carolyn Manning has a lot of like stained glass, kaleidoscopy looking kind of patterns, and then ones like this that kind of, they're symmetrical in type of a mandala thing. Now this next one that I'm going to show you is a very old whip that I haven't touched in a long time because I was struggling with her. She is a lavender and lace Angel that I was working on probably way back in like 2000. And she is called the Ice Angel. And this is the little card to show you what she looks like. She is full of krynic and beads. And that's what I was struggling with. All through this sash on her is a blend of a DMC and a krynic. And then around the beads in the bottom of her dress, that's all solid silver krynic. And then she has a lot of, she has some, like I said, a lot of beading on the bottom of her dress. So I was struggling. She's on some kind of, like I said, a long time ago, I didn't keep track, didn't keep records. Didn't know anybody would care what I was stitching on. But you can see her sparkle. So she's beautiful. But she's on a 16 count Aida in some kind of a color, like a dusty blue color. And I still have, she's all done except for all of this krynic and beading along the bottom of her dress is mostly all that I have left. So I do want to finish her one day. Look at the shimmer on her. She is just gorgeous. But I put her aside and started working on something else, another angel and other things, because I was, the krynic, it breaks, it doesn't want to lay nice or whatever. I was just having struggles with the krynic. And now I know to probably do shorter lengths. I was probably trying to use long lengths and then having issues and stuff. So I'm going to, one of these days try and pick her up again and see what kind of progress I can get on her. And then this is another really, really, really old whip. Actually, there might be two whips out of this project. I'll have to look. This is an old Stony Creek leaflet, and it's called Winter Magic. And it had several, yes, I think I was working, I think what's stuffed in here is, I know I was working on this one here, and this one down here, I'm pretty sure. Let me look in here. I didn't open this to look at this the other day. I just pulled it aside. This looks like it's just an off-white, like an antique white Aida. 16 count. No, is this 16 or 18? No, this is 18. It might even be 20. I think it's 18 count. So this is a off-white 18 count Aida, and that's how far I was able to get on this one. That was back in the day, but isn't it cute? I still want to finish this one. At least this one, I still have the pattern for. And then this other one, the welcome one, with all the quilts, and it had the two snowmen. I think I'm Mr. and Mrs. Where is it? Right here. This one I was doing on a, looks like an 18 count Aida in kind of a grayish color. So I'm not really sure what color that is. I wanted it to be, for the white to show up. So I didn't want white Aida. And this is how far I was. I still love it. So I really need to pull out some of my old whips and work some more on those. I really do. Because I look at them and I'm like, I still love them. Back a long time ago, I used to collect snowmen. And then I had snowmen coming out of my ears. So I quit collecting snowmen. But I still really like them. I love snowmen. Snow I like. I like when snow first falls and it's beautiful and it's white. I like here in Virginia that normally when it snows, the snow doesn't normally last forever. It'll melt and go away. Occasionally we get those snowstorms that dump quite a bit and it stays cold, and then you have all that slushy, dirty snow that's been plowed up in the corner of parking lots and things like that. That's not so pretty. And when it gets icy, when it melts and refreezes, I don't enjoy that so much. And I don't enjoy when it stays so cold that it won't go away. That's a little too cold for me. But I like snow. I do. I love the seasons. I love all the seasons. So now I'm going to open my next bin. We're going to go through this one. These are some more whips, winter Christmas whips. This first one is by Madame Le Faye. If I can get it out. And this one is called Noel. So it looks like that. Madame Le Faye. And it is called Noel. And this one, I probably did not write down what I was stitching it on, because this is another one I started a while back. Well, not a long time ago. I started this one like before I started keeping track, a little over a year ago. I've only been keeping track this past year. And this is how far I was able to get. This looks like it's a it's like some kind of a light tan, 16 count Ada. So this is where I was able to get on Noel. There are quite a few color changes going on here in this ornament, but this kind of candy cane striped border was easy. This isn't too bad. So I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Tuck that back in there. Now this next one, I think I might have more information on this one, because this one was started a little bit later. It was I think it was at the end of the winter last year. Not too long, less than a year ago. And this is Leela Studios. Yes, and I have the sticker on here. And this one is Holiday Quaker. It looks like this. And I was doing it on 16 count Crystal Whirlpool Ada by Picture This Plus. Crystal means it's a opalescent one. It has some shiny threads in it. And so this fabric is gorgeous. It's a beautiful blue, and it has a really pretty shiny shimmer to it. And this is how far I was able to get. So I got that much on the upper left-hand corner. Got this much done on this one. Again, see this? Can you see the sparkle in the fabric? Really pretty. And it's a pretty blue. Has a slight mottling in it. Really pretty. So, loving it, loving it. You guys did a drinking game with every time I said love it, or I really need to get working on this some more. Yeah, probably would not be good. So, that is that one. Still got a few more whips, and then we'll move on to kitted projects. Things I haven't started but are kitted or partially kitted. This one I just picked up and started working on not too long ago. This was one that I started working on back in August, and this was by Silver Creek Samplers. And this is my Christmas list. And I worked about 3 days on it back in August. And this one is being stitched on 16 count Heartland. 16 count Ada in the color Heartland. And I didn't get very, very far, but I have this much done. So just the first couple of things on the Christmas list: family visits and turkey dressing. And that's how far I got on this one. And that is 16 count Ada in the color Heartland. That is that whip. And oh, my next one, I really have been itching to want to get some more work done on this one. This next one is by Lavender and Lace, and this one is Santa of the Forest. And I have bobbinated because there's several different DMC colors for this one. And there he is. Let me get him out of here. Let's see, hopefully that won't make too much noise. Santa of the Forest, and I am stitching him on 16 count Sage Summer Khaki. I put the little label off of the fabric, and that's a Zweigart based, because I can see the Z at the end indicating that it's a Zweigart. So this one is on a one of my scroll frames. This one is an Arabesca scroll frame. I bought a set. Comes with different size of these and the bars and the side pieces. And these are just some magnetic bungee ties that I ordered off of Amazon. Oops, that's the back. Here we go. So I had started this and only got the little bear's face that he's holding, and this is some of Santa's cape. And like I said, this is in Summer Khaki, Ada. So I really want to get some more work done on this one. This is just trying to help pull this a little tighter. The edges sometimes can get a little, be a little loose. And I like my fabric as tight as I can get it. I want it as tight as a drum if I can. So that is Santa of the Forest by Lavender and Lace. And that one should still be available for purchase, because I purchased that one not that long ago. My next one is one that you have seen recently. Oh man, somewhere I have the rest of them. Okay, let me see if I can find them real quick in my other bin here. Maybe not. What I want to do, I have the rest of these all kitted up somewhere. Well, is this it? No. Oh well, you'll see it a little later. But this is my Prairie Schooler Santas. I have, I think I have the whole collection. I might be missing a couple. But this is the 2021 Prairie Schooler Santa, and you've just seen him recently. This is stitched on 18 count Vintage Country Mocha fabric. And I just didn't do his little border and the words that say Winter Woods. So this is him. That's what it looks like. The 2021 Santa. And in this bag, I also have the 2018 Santa, because he's my next on my radar. I'm thinking of starting, and I haven't started him yet. But he is in this bag. And then I have another bag that I was trying to find that has all of the rest of my collection that I have of those Santas. But I have it in that box somewhere with all of those. Yeah, I think it's over here. This next one you've just seen recently, because this is a whip. This is my Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow by Kathy Barrick with Carriage House samplings. And I had finished this block, and I was working on this one, and I'd like to get that one finished at least before it gets put away for any length of time. And this one is being stitched on 16 count lamb's wool is the color. 16 count Ada in the color lamb's wool. And I am using the called for DMCs. I'm not doing the NPI silks. I think the other was the silks. And there's quite a few colors, so I didn't want to do it in the silks. And that's how far I was able to get on Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. And this color here, that is probably, this I'm believing is probably supposed to be like snow in the yard of this colonial house. That color is the only one that's not a DMC, because they had called for, I think it was a thread gatherer or some other kind of color that I didn't have. So I just pulled out from my stash. I had some stash from a while back of Victorian Motto, and this one is the color Aqua Sky. I had somebody ask me, I think it was a color that was supposed to be Teal Frost, and I just picked the lightest, frostiest teal color that I had in my stash, and it was this one. So I'm doing that with that, but the rest is all in DMCs. So, and I just made these floss drops just from some scrapbook paper and punched. I had a tag punched some holes, and I dropped the fabric, and then I just made a little baubles for just for fun. For this one. This one is being housed in my Garon toten bag from Garon Stitchery. My nose is itching, sorry. Before I start sneezing. This is the regular size bag. I think it's I don't remember what the size is. 12 by 14, 12 by 15 by Garon toten bags. And because this pattern has so many peacocks in it, I thought that peacock bag would be perfect. This next one is a blackbird design. And this originally was released on its own, and then they re-released it in this book. And this is Home for the Holidays by Blackbird Designs. So now you can find this. I believe this book is still available. It has several different projects in here. But I am doing, let me see if I can find the actual picture in here. There's always something wrong with either my nose or my throat. The sufferings of having allergies. There's Christmas Garden, the Christmas Garden sampler. Love it. So many people have finished this one, and I'll see it on their YouTube channels, like hanging on them, behind them, you know, on the wall. There was somebody else just recently I was watching had this. Another design in here, that's the one that's my whip, but another one that's on my radar that I want to do soon. There's stockings in here, but the other one that I really want to do is some of the patterns on this page. There we go. Is that one right there. Annie, the Proper Stitcher, she's been working on that one, and she last time showed it. She said she's hoping to get that one finished this year, before the end of the year, I believe. So this one is being stitched on 16 count Heritage by Picture This Plus. So this one has a little bit of mottling that looks slightly green hueish, and that's why I picked it and thought it would be perfect for this sampler. Let me fold it over so it's not so see-through. And this is how far I was able to get on this one. It only has 4 colors. Has a red, a green, a brown, and kind of a tanny gold color. And that is it. Just 4 colors. And I'm itching to get some more work done on this one also. This is another one that's on the top of my list I want to start on. That Santa the Forest, this one that I haven't touched. I haven't touched this one since July. I pulled it out and worked a few days on it in July for Jolly July stitching. And just really, really, really want to get back and do some more work on this one, because I really like this. And like I said, my Santa of the Forest and so many of the other ones. Those are all my Christmas and winter whips. I don't know if this should be an intermission time for you guys to go take a potty break, get a refreshment on your drink, whatever. But we are going to now roll into my bag that is full of all my kitted or partially kitted projects. So this first one is by Rosewood Manor, and it's this Winter Quaker. This is a Winter Quakers, and I have not started this one yet, but I'm hoping to get a start on it. I'm trying to do these all in the season. I have all 4 of the seasons. This one's the winter, and I also have the summer, the spring, and the fall, the autumn. And I do have the called for Valdani thread pack that they ask, and I'm doing it on the, I believe the called for, but instead of linen or whatever, I'm doing this one on a, no, actually, I'm also doing this one on this isn't the called for because this one's opulescent. This one's going to be done on this opulescent. This one is 28 count Crystal Dwarf Lugana. I picture this plus. And I wanted to stitch this one on this one because I think it's going to really be pretty for a winter look with all of these beautiful Quakers. And like I said, I have the Valdani thread pack, and it's still, I haven't even opened it. It's still got the plastic over the top. But these are the colors. Isn't those pretty? Look at the slight variegation in some of those. I love it. So that is kitted and ready to go. This is one that I had to start when winter comes, and I'm going to be working on this one some. Okay. My next one, well, actually my next 3, 4, yeah, my next few are my Fancy Ladies that are winter Christmas themed. The first one is by Lavender and Lace, and she's completely kitted. She has been completely kitted. She's been sitting in my stash for a while. Let's see if I can take her. Lavender and Lace usually give you a little card, but this is the Celtic Christmas, and I already have her kitted. Well, no, she's not fully kitted. I only have her beads, and I have this piece of fabric picked out for her that is a 16 count Ada Natural Light color by Zweigart. So looks very similar to the color that the design was done on. And I have the beads. I want to show you the pattern, but I do have all the beads, the gold, red, and green beads that she calls for, but I do not have the DMCs. That is what I don't have. So she's partially kitted. I just don't have the DMCs for her. So she's been sitting there waiting to get started one of these days, and she's just in a bag because she's just, that's kitted. My other Lavender and Lace lady that I have is my winter Celtic Lady, and she looks like this. I love her coloring. She reminds me, of course, my granddaughter's still little, but she has the dark skin and the long dark hair. And maybe one day when she's an adult, I might give this to her, you know, have it stitched up, and I'll give it to her one day. She's just beautiful. She's pretty. Just like my granddaughter. She's gorgeous. Okay. But she's only 12 right now, so I don't know how much she'd appreciate a cross-stitched piece anyway. This one I have a piece of 16 count pewter Ada by Zweigart that I have picked out for her. Looks very, very good match for that one. And I do not have her Ada either, but I do have, she has some rainbow treasure braid, a few beads, and she also has, look at that, this is old. This is when I did have an LNS. I used to use these little paper bags, and I have the whisper thread for her. So, and this whisper thread is very fuzzy, probably because it's been sitting in this bag for ever and a day. But that is my winter Celtic Lady. I'll get her all back in here. By Lavender and Lace. And you probably still can get this one because Lavender and Lace keeps their patterns for a very long time. They usually don't go out of print. Not like the Mirabilias do. The Mirabilias will go out of print after a little while. And then they're hard to find. So this next one is a Mirabilia. This one is called Royal Holiday. So this is my Christmas queen. And she looks like this. Isn't she pretty? A lot of work in here though, I know. And she is partially kitted. I do not have fabric yet set aside for her, and I do not have her DMCs, but I have her whisper thread and her beads. I'm not gonna take them all out, and a cryneck. So I do have all of her little accoutrements to go with her. I just don't have her fabric and her DMC. But when I pick up the Mirabilias and the lavender and lace, I do try to get all of the beads and the specialty things, just in case they're not available in the future when I do want to go and stitch them. Now this next one is Winter Queen by Mirabilia. And she looks like this. And this one I'm going to do as a stitch along. So if anybody wants to join us, I mean, feel free to come and join us. I'm going to do this with Carolyn from Carolyn Stitches. She has a Flosstube, and she also has an Instagram account called Fiber Freak. Her and I are going to start this one on the winter solstice, which I believe is December 21st. So we're going to start her then. Carolyn, last I heard, she was waiting on her fabric to come in for her. So she should have everything. I'm set. I've got a fabric that I think I'm going to work on, do her on, and I've got her threads bobbinated, her DMCs, and I have all of the extra DMCs that I'm going to need for her, and I have all her beads. So her beads are in here, and she uses a lot of this DMC 341 because she's in a really pretty kind of a lavender bluish color, like a periwinkle. Really pretty. So that is that lady, and she will get started in December for a stitch along. Probably should call it a start along because Carolyn will probably blow me out of the water. That lady gets a lot of stitching done, and I get a lot of stitching done, but mine's all over the place. I don't like stick with one thing for too long, but we'll see. We'll work on it. This one is Christmas Village that is all kitted up, and this is by Sarah. And she used to go by her full name, Sarah Giormani, but now she just goes by Sarah. Her, you can find her designs. You can see down here it says Sarah Giormani.it. So this is Christmas Village. Isn't that cute? All of the things. This pattern came with a couple of little buttons, little wooden buttons. I don't want to show the pattern. Let me do this. And it comes with a little moose, he's upside down, and 2 snowflakes. They're wooden buttons. Aren't those cute? And I already have a fabric picked out for this one. This one was, I had tea-dyed this piece of 16 count Aida to do this one on. It has very, very slight mottling in it. But I wanted the tea-dyed because I wanted the whites for the snow to show up on my fabric. So if I pull out, these are I already have my flosses all bobbinated and ready. I have a pair of scissors, some needles, and I'm going to use the white anchor thread on this one. So I have a spool of white thread. Let me just pull out this, but I think the white's going to show up on this fabric pretty good. So there's a piece of my white thread. So hopefully, because I really want the white to show, but I don't want it so dark that you can't see all the little houses and things like that in the village and the trees. And little Santa Claus in his little sleigh way up here on this top left-hand corner. There's Santa Claus and his little reindeer. Aren't they cute? So Sarah is an Italian designer that does, I have her spring village too, that's called Primavera. Love it. So I had to get this one. Uh-oh. This is a magnet. How I track my stitches as I'm going along is I use a magnet board, and this is one of the magnet strips, because what I do is I slide it along my pattern. As I'm stitching along, I can just keep lining it up with the row that I'm working on. You can either do horizontal or vertical. So I don't know how that ended up in the bag, but I can put that with my magnetic board. Things you find when you go through your stuff. So that one's kitted and ready to go. I'll see if I can get that one started this winter, maybe. We'll see. I have lots of whips already going, so we will see. This next little bag has 2 small projects in it. The first one is a Lizzie cake Quicket, and it is all kitted up with a few little, let me show it to you first. This is called Be Naughty. So it says, "Be naughty, save Santa a trip." I thought that was really cute, and it's really small. It shouldn't take long to do. Only has 3 colors, and I pulled out just a scrap piece of fabric. This is either probably Heritage or I forgot what the name of the other one is. That has, I think this might be Heritage. Just has a little bit of modeling. It's a little off, you know, not a white. Just has a little bit of color in it. So I'm not real sure. This is a 16 count Aida, and these are the 3 flosses that I'm going to use for it. So it's just a classic Colorworks Apple Fritter, and then 2 Weeks Dye Works. This one is Bayberry and Holly. So those are the colors in my piece of fabric. This one's small, should not take long to do. It's like I said, I just took a little, when I cut pieces off of my fabric, if my fabric's a little long, I like to save them and use them for small things like little ornaments and smalls. So that's the first one in this bag. And the second one is another little Lizzie Cake Quicket. This one I picked up at Keepsakes in Ohio when I was there for StitchCon in June. And this one is Where's the Party? Another really cute one. And these little elf legs. And both of these patterns come with the little beads and things in them. I didn't show. The other one had little red beads for like the little holly berries. And this one has these little gold beads in the pattern. And I just had the DMCs already that it calls for. There's about 7 DMCs here. And I had picked this piece of fabric up while I was at Keepsakes also. And this is a 28 count Jobelin in the color Lime. Aren't those colors going to be really pretty on this fabric? So I'm looking at these and I'm thinking I could stitch these up really quick and have these. So says the woman with all the whips. But that is another kitted one. And then I have, this one is by Tralala, which I believe is a French designer company. Because this one is called La Forêt Enchantée Hiver. Look at that little girl. Isn't she cute? With her little dog in the wagon. This one, if I remember my high school French, is winter, I believe, and then Enchanted Forest, like a winter enchanted forest. And I have all of the called for DMCs. These are just DMC colors. I have those all set aside for this one. And just a little piece of fabric. This one is just, this is by Picture This Plus. And it is a 16 count Aida in the color Tycho. Tycho. And this is just an 8x12 piece of fabric. So this is the smallest that they sell their fabrics in, pre-cut at like 1, 2, 3 stitch or somewhere. So this is what the colors are going to look like on that. So that is that project. Another one that could be stitched up fairly quick. So I do have some small projects. I am one that loves my big projects. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you see all the big ones I have going that are going to take me forever to finish. But I do have some small pieces, some small projects. This next one is by Abby Rose Designs. I think this is the only pattern I have by this company so far. And this one is called Hometown Christmas. Now it looks like this, by Abby Rose Designs. And I have this one completely kitted. I believe this is just, oh no, there are some, might need to take a drink of water. There are some classic colorworks that were called for. I believe I have all the called for picked out on this one. And then these are all DMCs. These are just on some floss drops that I had just made from these little Christmas tags. I just punched holes in them and dropped my flosses from there. So these are all DMCs, and then the few classic colorworks. And I have a piece of, this looks like a piece that I tea and coffee dyed using Priscilla and Chelsea's coffee and tea dye technique. So this side is less mottled, and this is 16 count Ada, if I haven't said it. This one has a kind of a stripe going through the middle. So I probably am going to use this side, which just has some light mottling on it, for this Christmas Village, or Hometown Christmas. So, and then that's what my flosses are going to look like on this fabric. There again, I wanted something that the whites would really pop off of the fabric, but yet not be too dark, where you could still see all of the houses and things with the fabric. So that's another one that's kitted up and ready to go. Put that one all in its bag. If I don't put them all in their bag, I will have so many flosses laying everywhere that it would take me a day and a half, probably at least, to get reorganized. So it's bad enough I'm going to have a pile down here that I'm going to have to, a mountain of project bags I'm going to have to step around and refile back in my closet. But this one is by Little House Needleworks, and it's called Poinsettia House. And I think this one is adorable. In fact, I thought it was so adorable that somehow I accidentally ordered 2. So I'm going to have a giveaway today at the end of my video. I'm going to show you how you can enter to win my second copy. You can enter for a chance to win my second copy of this Poinsettia House by Little House Needleworks. I'm going to go ahead and give the second one as a giveaway. And do it now so that you guys can, you know, whoever becomes the winner might be able to have it stitched by this winter. So, because this one is not a very big project, and it calls for DMC and classic colorworks threads. And I have mine right here. Looks a little ratty because it's been stuffed in its bag. But here are the colors. So you need, looks like about 5 classic colorworks colors and a few DMCs to do this Poinsettia House. So that one's most of the way kitted. I just need a piece of fabric, and I do have some fabric stash. But sometimes if I'm not absolutely certain that's really what I'd like to stitch it on, I don't hold that piece of fabric hostage with that pattern in my closet, you know, in my stash, just in case it'll work better for something else. So this one is fully kitted. And this is another Tralala, and this one is Jeu de Liberation. Oh. This one is, like I said, by Tralala, and you get 2 patterns in there. Aren't they cute? Just so adorable. I think, well, I want to stitch both of them eventually, but I think this piece here is probably big enough piece of fabric that I have put aside for this one. This one is 16 count Ada in the color Earthen, and it's a 13 by 18 inch piece. Oh, it looks like I started it. This needs to go in my whips. Look at that. No, I didn't. This right here is a Plum Street Samplers pattern called, what was it called? Summer Delivery. And I was doing the horse on it, and I felt like the horse wasn't showing up well enough. So I stopped and I picked out a piece of blue fabric to work on that one some more. So this actually needs to be frogged out so that I can do my my little guy here. So I got some frogging to do. I need to pull all those stitches out. And this one, I couldn't find the one, it's called for DMC. I couldn't find the one DMC color at my, I believe I was at Joann's, and they have an anchor display, and at the top they show the conversions from DMC to anchor. And so I picked up the anchor conversion for that DMC color, but then the rest I have in DMC. So these are the colors that this one's going to be in. So let me take a drink of my water. Maybe that'll help me. I'm sorry. I don't want to sit there and clear my throat all day and have you guys annoyed. So that's that cutie. And like I said, I might have to set this aside so I remember that I got to frog that out, because I'm going to go and want to work on it and go, yeah, I got to frog out those stitches, and then I'll set it aside and not want to stitch on it. So one day when I'm just sitting there watching TV with my husband, I need to sit there and just take those stitches out. This one is a recent purchase, and this one is Christmas Quaker 2 by Bygone Stitches. And this is the one that had all of the Christmas carols titles on here, and then a lot of these beautiful Quaker designs. And I already have it kitted with a bunch of reds and green. It only comes with it needs red and green flosses. So what I did was I just went through, I had some Victorian motto in my stash that I found a lot of the reds that are very similar in hue, but just it needs like, it calls for 115 yards of current from Gentle Arts. But instead of doing all the Gentle Arts, these come 20 yards on a skein, and I have 6 here, so that's 120 yards, and I need 115. And they're all very similar in color. So what I'm going to do is just do like one of the Quakers in this one and one Quaker in that one, and just kind of switch around in these. They're all very, very similar, so they're not going to look that different. But yet that'll give me enough red to do this that I already had in my stash. And then these 2 greens that I have in my stash. One is lighter and one is darker. They're 20 yard skeins, so there's 40 yards here. And this one calls for 25 yards. So I needed a little bit more than one. So I'll do the same, or I'll do some of it in this lighter green and some in this other green color. And these are Victorian green and boughs of holly. And then my reds that I picked out were cherry, traditional holiday, 17th century schoolhouse. This one is Victorian red, celebration red, and Victorian cranberry. So I have all my flosses. I wanted to make sure I had enough of whatever I needed to work on this one. This one's going to be a quite large piece, and I just need to pick out my fabric for that one. And it'll just be on some kind of off-white fabric. The next one that I have kitted, oh, here we go. Here are all my Prairie Schooler Santas. And I have a bunch of the DMCs in here, and some more of that Vintage Country Mocha sitting in here for these guys. And I will just flip through all of these charts super, super, super quick. So I have all of the Prairie Schooler Santas. Some of these that are more recent are cards, on these little cards, and then the ones that the other ones that I couldn't get on the cards, I got in the Santa's Revisited little reprint leaflets, where you get, I think, 3 per leaflet, 3 different years. So these are some more of my Prairie Schooler Santas. Look at that. Bunny's holding on for dear life. So these are the revisited ones. So you get 3 in each of these leaflets that they reprinted. These older Santas that usually date back in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, and early 2000s. So I have the collection. So like I said, I'm just gonna, each time I finish one, I'm going to pick out a different one and try to just keep rolling through these. And one day I hope to have them all stitched. So these are my Prairie Schooler Santas, and that was what I was trying to find earlier. But it was in the middle of this basket of stuff, and I couldn't find it, so I want to make you guys wait while I dug through there, since I wasn't prepared, evidently, to do that. So sorry for the crinkling. It is just all stored in a plastic zip bag. So that one over there. And then my next one is by Madame Faye. So, and this one, I had one that was a whip by her. And this one is another one that I have by her that is a, just a partially kitted. And this one is Montagne. What is it? Neige and Montagne. Which I believe means mountain, white mountain. I'm not sure. Something mountain. Sheila with Sunshine Stitchers, I believe this is the one that she's been working on. And I was like, oh, I have that one in my stash, but I haven't started it. And I just have the piece of, and when I ordered this from her, from Madame Faye, she put a little charm in with it. Look at that. It's a little snowflake. Let's see if you can see it if I put it down at the bottom. There you go. It's a little snowflake charm. He's so cute. That came with it. And then I just have a piece of 16 count Aida. I don't even think I have the color name for this anywhere. But I have a piece of 16 count Aida for it. It's just a plain Aida, a light tan one, like a beigey one. Nope, it doesn't look like I wrote down the my fabric color when I kitted this one, or partially kitted it. I still need to pick up the DMC threads. It's got a list of called for DMC. So even when you order these Italian or French charts, the designer, it's very, I mean, that's standard. DMC's numbers, little symbols, and that's what the chart is charted with, all those little symbols. It's not that hard. You might have hard if you're more trying to read maybe specialty instructions and things, but when they're just straight up, it's just straight up cross stitch with a pattern with symbols. It's not confusing to try to use these international charts. Oh, let me put the little charm back in there. The next one is by the Cricket collection, the cross-eyed Cricket collection. And I have the seasons in these, and this one is winter. And I'll go ahead and take it out of the plastic. And this one I had started, but I'm not sure if I was going to continue it the way it is. But this one is winter by the cross-eyed Cricket, the Cricket collection. It's number 305. And I do have a piece of fabric. I think I was starting it on here and then something happened. I don't remember. Because I've started it twice. And this is 16 count Haven is the blue. So it looks like I started it over here, and I didn't give myself very much of a margin, and I have it started over here. So there was something that was wrong. Something happened. So I need to figure out why I have started it twice on this piece of fabric. Or I might just have to frog it out and start all over. I'm not sure with that one. I can't remember what the deal was with that. But I have that one. And then the next one is a Little House Needleworks piece. And it is called the Winter Band Sampler. Let me get it out of its plastic. Well, because it's double plastic. That's going to be, because the pattern itself is in plastic and then it's in a plastic bag. So it looks like this, the Winter Band Sampler by Little House Needleworks. So this is a small one, and I have picked out this piece of Aida, the 16 count dirty Aida, and it's a piece that I cut off of another one. So this one measures 18 by 10 inches because it's a skinny piece. And I went ahead and I zigzagged with my sewing machine around the edges, just a messy little zigzag that I did. And I use any leftover threads that are on my bobbin. I don't care, because it's just the salvage anyway. So I have a long skinny piece of this dirty Aida, in the color dirty, to stitch that on, because the white will really pop off of this color really nicely. That's another one. If you want a brown Aida to stitch white threads on, this is one that I would recommend. It's dark enough, but it's still not too dark where it makes all of your other colors fade into the dark fabric. So this next one is by Shannon Christine Designs, and I believe this is a PDF that I downloaded from her website. And it looks like this. This one is called Winter Snowfall. And a lot of people were doing this last winter. By Shannon Christine Designs. And she has several different color choices that you could do this in. All of this part is in white, but then this part that it's showing kind of in teal colors. She gives you conversions from, I think for, yeah, a bright purple, a green, a red, a pink, a blueberry, an ice blue, and a purple. So she gives you several different options, and I have some white DMC here, and I had pulled these two blues, so I wasn't sure if that's what I was going to do the blue part in. So, but I have those two sitting in there. I want to look at the different options, and I need to pick out my piece of fabric for this one before I actually, and then I can definitely decide what color choice I want to do for that one. This next one is another Corey, a Beta Corey, another Italian designer. And this one is called 100% Pure Amore. And this one is Love Means Knitting for You, I believe. So it is just, it is adorable. You have this little girl with her little knitting, this little guy sitting here with his little knitting needles, knitting this little sweater she's wearing. The deer has a little sweater on. There's scarves hanging in the tree. You got this little lamb over here knitting away. It has a little hat on. It is just, it's so cute. So I have this one kitted up with this blue piece of Aida. So this one's fully kitted. And I had picked this blue color, this Icelandic blue in 16 count Aida. And you can see I did my fancy little zigzag stitch. I don't have a serger, and but it's a good size piece that I have set aside. Look at all the nice little fold creases in this thing. Those are going to be fun to iron out later. And I have all of the called for DMCs. And this is a mess. Look at this, and look at the mess going on here. This is not Nicole from Nicole Needleworks, not Nicole worthy. Look at that mess. Some of them are on bobbins, because a few of them I had on bobbins. Then these were those homemade floss drops I made with the DMCs on there. So this is all DMC with this Icelandic blue color for this one that I picked up, because this looked like a really light blue that it was stitched on here. Kind of a purpley blue. That's what it looks like. But that is that one. Put this all back in this little plastic bag and throw it down on my mountain of projects sitting on the floor. I have a couple more left in this basket of kitted stuff. 3 more. This next one is by Stacy Nash Primitives. I'm hoping this crinkling is not super loud. I'm trying to be quiet. And this one is Christmas at Holly Berry Farm. And like I said, hers are always hard to see by the picture because they come out so dark. But when you see these stitched up, they're really, really pretty. So that's Christmas at Holly Berry Farm. And I had picked out this piece of Stony Point color. It's like a bluey green, 16 count Aida to stitch this one on. And I have already, this one's fully kitted. I have already picked out, have my overdyes that I had for it. And I think there is, yeah, it looks like two of these that I picked out were Victorian Motto because I didn't have the overdyes, but I had those in my stash. And then I did have all of these. And I'm going to do this one on this green fabric. So it's Stacy Nash's Christmas at Holly Berry Farm. I have, what is it? What's the other one I had started? Gathering of the Greens. That's another Stacy Nash winter one. And then that's the Christmas at Holly Berry Farm. This next one is Little House Needleworks Winter Plaid. And it has this plaid house. And it looks like this. It's not very big. It's not a very big project, I don't believe. This one is 96 by 124 stitches. So it's fairly small. And I have picked out this 16 count Aida in the color Country French Cafe Mocha. Some of that surging stuff, I need to cut that off because that'll drive me nuts while I'm stitching it. But it's just a small piece because this one is not a very big project. This is just an 8 by 12, so it'll go this direction. Have that with all of the, I've got all the threads. So they're here. One of them's a Weeks, a few Classic Colorworks, and a few DMCs. These right here are the DMCs. Then I have this one Weeks Dye Works. This is Cayenne. And then these Classic Colorworks. Hickory Sticks, Eggshell, 2 eggshells, Pea Pod, and Roasted Chestnut. So I have that one all kitted up, waiting in the wings. You know, my poor projects. I could sit there and think of them as little, you know, little cats or dogs at the SPCA going, pick me, take me, love on me. They're just sitting in the closet, just waiting, biding their time. So that one. And then the last one in my kitted up projects that I have is by Country Cottage Needleworks. Let me get it open here. And this one is called, what's this one? Snowflake Serenade. This is another one that's fairly small. Snowflake Serenade. And the piece of fabric, it looks like this is a coffee and tea dyed piece that I did. And see, it zigzag stitched my edges. But it's got just a little bit of mottling in it. Not a lot. Very, very little. But it's coffee and tea dyed, so it's not just a, it's just a 16 count Ada that was just a white or off-white, and then I coffee and tea dyed it to give it just a little more color to it. And like I said, you can go to Priscilla and Chelsea's channel, their Flosstube, and find, you can even just probably search on YouTube for coffee tea dye, and theirs will be one that'll pop up. And these are the colors that I have picked out, plus the white. See how the white's gonna really show on that coffee tea dye fabric. And that is the last of my kitted up projects. And where are we? At an hour and a half. You guys hanging in there? I'm not boring you too much. I'm hoping you're finding something that you go, ooh, I like that. Because that's what I do when I'm watching these other people. How do you think I have all of these? So that's the last of those. So both of those, now all of those bins are empty. The last bin that I have, the last thing, are just charts. And I just have them in a magazine rack. And this one I've titled Winter Christmas. Just wrote on there so that I know real quick at a glance when I'm looking for things that these are all my winter Christmas charts. The first thing I can show you that's in here is the Christmas ornaments by Just Cross Stitch. I think this is this year's, the 2021 issue, which has all over 60 projects in here. So, and there's just a small sampling of what's in there. Oops, there's one little chart left in here. It's a small one. Almost forgot it. Okay. So let me start out with this little one. Little House Needleworks. This one is gingerbread cookie. Can make a cute little pillow or ornament. So I have that one. And then I have a few more by Shannon Christine Designs. This one is Season to Sparkle. Looks like this. The next one is Christmas Joy by Shannon Christine Designs. And this one is not really kitted, but I did go ahead and get the two beads, the red and the gold beads. So it does have that in there, but that's all that that chart has so far. And this one is called Jeweled Baubles by Shannon Christine Designs. That one has, this one has a bunch of beads and a little krynic. So it will sparkle. Then I have some more Prairie Schooler Santas, but these are St. Nicholas. These aren't the yearly Santas. These are the different. This one is book number 20. It has all these Santas. I had this one before I went and purchased all of the yearly Prairie Schooler Santas. Then this is Prairie Schooler Button Up. It looks like this. You can either stitch all these together like it is, or you could stitch just a square and make them into little pillows or ornaments if you wanted to. So it even shows it on the back here. A few of them done up like that. So you could do, you have options there. And then this one is Prairie Schooler Christmas Eve. And this is another one, Annie the Proper Stitcher has almost finished. And then I have a subscriber that she was telling me, you know, a viewer, that she has this one and has been working on this one by Prairie Schooler. Then this one is by Sue Hillis Designs. I purchased this one when I was at StitchCon in their annex, and it's called The Most Wonderful Time. The Most Wonderful Time. And they had this stitched up in their trunk show, her trunk show, and it was just really pretty. All of her things were really pretty. I had to limit what I was going to purchase from that. And then this is a Stony Creek. This is Winter in the Village. I already have Spring in the Village that I started working on, and this one's Winter in the Village. And if you watch Once Upon a Stitch, Lori Schickalone, she has done, no, I don't think she's quite finished, but she's doing spring in, no, fall in the village, the autumn one. She's doing that one. This one is a freebie. This is from Whilst Iris Naps Designs. So it's just a freebie that I downloaded. So if you go to Whilst Iris Naps, I believe she still has this on her website, on her blog. This is a free chart for Christmas 2020, but it might still be on there. Whilst Iris Naps. She charts samplers, reproduction samplers, really pretty. This next one is by Little House Needleworks, and this one is the Winter ABCs. Looks like that. I have it crooked there. Hard to see these little tiny ones. This one is Little House Needleworks Winter Whites. Another small one. And then I have Little House Needleworks Pine Top Lodge. Look at that bear. Oh, he's so cute. I could just go spend my winter in a little cottage in the woods. That would be so cute. Then this one is by the Scarlet House, and this is called Coverlet Christmas. I love this one. And then this one is another one I picked up at the Annex. They had this one stitched up, model stitched up, and it was so cute. And this one is by the Cricket Collection, the Cross-Eyed Cricket. And this one is called A Well-Dressed Man. And it has all these snowmen dressed up. A well-dressed man. So cute. And that just caught my eye and I had to get that one. And then this one is by Plum Street Samplers. This is Home for Christmas. Isn't that pretty? Love Plum Street designs. Then this is the only one I have by the Nebby Needle. And this one is 'Tis the Season Sampler. Nebby Needle. The Nebby Needle. And 'Tis the Season Sampler. Isn't that cute? And then I have Cottage Garden. I have Peace on Earth with the red cardinal. Somebody I had seen had just finished this one, and it was really pretty. Not sure what color fabric I'm going to choose, but I'm sure it's going to be something kind of similar to this, like a greenish bluish color. I like that. And then the last set I have is a series, and these are ones that were gifted to me. These came in Happy Mail by a wonderful viewer on my channel that's asked if I wanted them. So these are the Little House Needleworks Hometown Holidays series. So I have several of these. I'm just going to flash through them real quick. Look at that schoolhouse. That is so cute. I love that red schoolhouse. Got Pop's Filling Station. Grandma's house. Look at these. And the diner. And the firehouse. And the church. So those I have all in one bag together. And that is it. That is it. That's all I have. I don't know if you're looking for more, but that's all I have. So check with me next year. I might have more. More than likely, because the designers, there are so many lovely designs. The designers are so talented, and it's just hard to choose just a few. I try to be selective and choose things that I know I'm really going to love and want to spend my time stitching, and I still have all of these. And there's even more on my wish list. But this is what I have right now in my stash and what I've been working on. And what you will probably be seeing coming up on my channel in the future, in the near future, is some of these I'll probably be stitching on because this is the time for me to start stitching on my winter and Christmas. We are, Thanksgiving is next week here in the US. I know Canada just celebrated their Thanksgiving recently. And so right after Thanksgiving, it gears into Christmas. I'm going to start decorating my house for Christmas. I do have a finished cross-stitch piece that's in with my Christmas decorations that is a Santa Claus by Leisure Arts that I had done. I had a Leisure Arts book, Christmas book, and he was one that I did out of there. And I crudely finished him myself on a piece of sticky board in a frame. So I might have to check into doing something better with him in the future. But when I get my Christmas decorations out, I will show you that one that I have stitched and that is all finished. So now for the giveaway for today's video. So like I said, I had a second copy of Poinsettia House by Little House Needleworks. So to enter for the drawing, put in the comments somewhere, be a subscriber, like on this video, and then comment with the word house. Even if you just want to put the word house, you know, if that's all you want to put in your comment, that works. I will use the random comment picker to pick somebody at my next regular Flosstube, which should be next week. My plan is to put one out either next Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Since I will be having a few family over, I won't have time to do that. So to enter for this, say the word house in your description, okay? And I will draw that. Hopefully next week will be when my next video will come up. That's the plan. That is the plan, Stan. Well, I can't get my sticky note. There. And that's all I have for you today. I did have somebody comment and ask me about this lady back here, this piece. This is not cross stitch. This is a Diamond Art Club diamond painting. This one's called Cinderella. And the reason that I put her is because of this beautiful big pumpkin. But this is actually a diamond painting. I do other crafts. I knit, I crochet, I paint by number, I do different artworks, I do scrapbooking. I haven't done that in a while. And I do diamond painting. So she's one that I diamond painted, but I put her up here for just to put her in the background because of her, but this is what this is. I'll just show her real quick. That is a diamond painting from Diamond Art Club called Cinderella. And I found a frame to put her in, and I picked her because of this really pretty big pumpkin. But you can see all the sparkle that these diamond paintings have. So I do that some. I do have some diamond painting artwork around. And my cross stitch is definitely my forefront thing that I do. And then I have my pumpkin spice that I had showed before. That's sitting back here. And of course my Lady of the Flag is back here. So you guys have a great week. I hope you found some stitching inspiration as you get out your Christmas winter stuff to start working on. I know like I said, I've worked on a couple of these this week. So I'm really it's starting to get chilly here in Virginia, and I'm getting the bug to really start working on some Christmas and winter stuff. So everybody here in the U.S. have a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey and all of the accoutrements that go with it, all of the yummies, the pies and the cakes and the cookies. And all of you in the rest of the world, I also wish you a happy week. I hope all of you are doing well. And until next time, be well and be happy. Bye, Stitchers.